What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video on what if Deku was the reincarnation of Mori Jin, part 9, also known as the final part in the series. Yes, this is final. No, the title is not wrong. Okay, before we jump straight into this final part, I wanted to state that from now on in every video, people who join my Discord in between videos will get a shout out at the start of the video. I'll shout out them by their Discord name, obviously, for people who are wondering. So, the people who have joined my Discord currently are AdRage, Bungie Cum, Blood Moon, 392, Coda City, John, 312, Nil, 546, and TBR Speedy. Thank you all for joining the Discord. If y'all want a shout out or y'all just want to talk, join the Discord down below. It'll be in the description. Go join it. Do what you gotta do. Okay, and let's jump straight into this final what if. Deku had finished training. He was prepared. It was one day before the final day. Deku already knew where Mujan Park was. They had sent spies to watch them. They knew something big was happening. They seemed to have more of the Nomu-style characters around. Deku, knowing what the Nomus are, he already understood that some situation must be going on. Deku, the Jade Emperor, and the Jade Empress, as well as All Might, had joined them. Deku was confused at first, and All Might said one of his oldest enemies were here, and that he had to finish off his oldest enemy once and for all. Deku shook his head up and down, understanding, and accepted All Might's assistance in this. Deku quickly, with his allies, showed up in what seemed to be a clearing in the forest. When they showed up there, they saw one man standing there. Deku instantaneously knew who the man was, and he's like, Mujan Park. Mujan Park had turned around and smiled at Deku and said, "You finally came here, Mori Jin, or should I refer to you as Izuku Midoriya now? It's been a long time, hasn't it? 9 months. I can see you are way stronger than you were before. I do think this is going to be a fun battle. Show me what the pinnacle of the human race can do." Wait, before that, I guess I should show you my compasses. Out of nowhere, purple portals appear. Out from the portals came the smoke guy that Deku knew from earlier to be Priest Shigaraki. I mean, not Priest Shigaraki, Priest Kataguri. And out the portal stepped out some other faces that he hadn't seen before. One of them looked like a man with a weird bird mask. Very strange. He had never seen the man before. The man introduced himself. "Hello, I'm a Bisharp. And that's all you need to know. Or, I guess you can call me Bisharp O. Mainly because it's named after my borrowed energy. But whatever, I don't have time to deal with you." Through the portal, another man came out. This man looked weird. Deku could tell that it was the same Bisharp from earlier, but he thought he had died. Then Deku remembered that the purple guy, the priest, had the ability to teleport, so he really didn't doubt that this other guy couldn't. "Hello, you insolent brat. It is I, Bisharp Shigaraki, and I'm back since you almost killed me in that cave." The next one to step out was a man. The man was wearing a weird mask. The mask looked like pipes were coming out of it, almost like it was feeding himself. "Hello. Sorry about that, guys. Had to sneeze. My name is Bisharp All for One, leader of the Nomu." Deku was kind of confused. Bisharp All for One? All Might started to tense up as soon as he saw the man, but didn't instantaneously engage. "These are gonna be my free allies to help even the odds a bit. Even though I don't think you can defeat me, it's still nice to have some backup in need case." Deku looked around. He didn't know what any of the abilities are. He knew it was just him, the Jade Empress, the Jade Emperor, and All Might, so he prepared to fight. He also knew they would have reinforcements coming, and just like that, a giant purple portal appeared behind Mujan Park, and he laughed. Oh yeah, did I mention these fellas too? Suddenly a whole swarm of weird grotesque creatures that Deku could only designate as Nomu were pouring out of the portal, hundreds of them at once. Instantaneously, Deku knew he had to call in the reinforcements, so he called up the Dragon Lord and told her to assemble all of the remaining members that they had and prepare for a full-on assault. Looks like this small paddle to save humanity just turned into a giant war. Deku started to grit his teeth, and he's like, Mujan Park, why? Mujan Park laughed, saying, I've grown tired of this, Izuku. Or Mori, let's get this over with. Deku instantaneously charged at Mujan Park. Mujan Park swatted him away, sending Deku flying. He knew he didn't have time to fool around, so he transformed into his Mori Jin form and activated his speed form of his armor, and quickly charged towards Mujan Park again. Mujan Park started to fight against Mori Jin. While their battle was going on, the Jade Empress charged towards Shigaraki. She quickly tried to slash Shigaraki, but Shigaraki jumped back. Using his borrowed power, he started to manipulate and destroy the ground beneath her, but she jumped up, dodging the attack. Shigaraki smiled as he leaped after her. Their battle was going so quick almost no one could see, as attacks were being deflected and blocked. Shigaraki noticed one thing that was weird though. It seemed like the blade she had in her hand couldn't be decayed. He didn't mind it though. It actually brought more fun to his excitement. Meanwhile, while they were battling, the Jade Emperor looked at the man in the bird mask and he said, So you're my opponent, I guess. The man in the bird mask saying, This will be over in a minute. They started fighting fiercely. Instantaneously, the Jade Emperor started to use his force manipulation to increase his strength of attack and nullify his opponents, when suddenly a giant spike became protruding out of the ground. Instantaneously, the Jade Emperor jumped back and said, What was that? And the man smiled and laughed. He said, It's my ability. The ability to manipulate anything I touch. I could reform humans if need be. Finally, the man, Bisharp, while they were fighting, All Might and All For One started to go out as well, their shockwaves sending ripples throughout the air as massive attacks and blows were fought one-on-one. It seems you have grown weaker, All Might, All For One said. All Might said, Shut up. I am the symbol of peace and I'll take you down. The intense fighting, up in the air where Deku and Mujan Park were at. They started battling fiercely, one attack after another. He started to use his weapons to hit Deku and blow him back. Deku kept dodging or blocking them. He had gotten way stronger in the past 9 months, but he still wasn't as strong as Mujan Park. He sided this and used the pressure points to stop his pain receivers, and then doubled his strength as he went back into the fight. Every punch was instantaneously blocked with Mujan Park. The fight kept on getting quicker and quicker. Compared to everyone else, they seemed to be moving slow while Deku and Mujan Park were quickly fighting. Mujan Park tried to use his divine power to smite Deku, but Deku dodged quickly, following up with a roundhouse kick into Mujan Park's head. Mujan Park slightly flew back into the ground. He got up with a smile on his face and dashed towards Deku again. Meanwhile, all the Nomu that were pulling out were met by the members of Neo-Nux that were still under control. The Dragon Lord summoned all for dragon children and sent them to attack the Nomu that were pouring out. With the Nux member and the Neo-Nux members and the dragon children and her alone, Elo Park also showed up to help assist in the fight. While they were fighting against all the Nomu, they could see the battle with Shigaraki and the Jade Empress was starting to waver. The Jade Empress cut upwards with her blade, sending a massive gash in between the earth as she started to use more of her power. Shigaraki just smiled at this and started fighting more and more. Eventually, though, the Jade Empress made one final clean strike, cutting Shigaraki, but not before Shigaraki can destroy her entire leg. Shigaraki smiled and said before he died, "Now you can't do anything else." He dies as Miro tries to couple her leg to stop the bleeding. It doesn't work though, as she sits there, slowly starting to bleed out. The Jade Emperor sees this, and using his ability to repel force, he repels the force of the blood that's coming out, but that left him open as Overhaul quickly sends a spike that stabs him through his arm, causing immense pain. Jade Emperor activates his nuclear force and creates a giant nuclear ball above his head and sends it flying at Overhaul. But Overhaul already anticipated this, and he touched the ball, transforming the ball into smaller spheres and then sending it back, but also greatly damaging his hands. The Jade Emperor dodged the attacks quickly. He was moving left and right. Everything was happening. Eventually, while they were doing that, All Might got hit by one of All For One's attacks. A weird spike-like protrusion that came out of All For One's arm while they were clashing entered straight into All Might's, causing him to start bleeding in his right arm. All Might started to cough up blood because he knew the battle was going on for too long. He couldn't keep up his 100% for this long. All Might started fighting again and again. All For One started to see that the Nomus were slowly being outnumbered by the Neonox and decided to send in more. The amount of Nomus almost doubled, while the Neonox were still at the same amount. Dragon Lord noticed this as she started to scoff. She looked towards the man who had created the portals and sealed his power by using her divine power Pandora, borrowed power Pandora. Kataguri was kind of confused by what was happening. He could no longer keep the portal open when out of nowhere the Dragon Lord appeared in front of him and knocked him out. But rather than knocking him out, she killed him instantly. His head went flying, and Shigaraki saw this as his last sight. He's like, "I guess we're going up at the same time, bro." As he closed his eyes, Mia, noticing that her leg had stopped bleeding, took her blade and put all of her energy in the blade and made a sideward swipe at Overhaul. Overhaul wasn't expecting this, quickly tried to block the slash, but it was too late. He had lost one of his arms and almost half of his secondary hand. As he sent a spike towards Mia, sending it straight for her gut. Mia took her final breath before she died. The Jade Emperor, being furious by the death of his loved one, quickly summoned the blade of Tehfra and cut Overhaul down straight in half down the middle. Luckily, Overhaul was able to touch himself in time and keep himself together. The Jade Emperor scoffed as he started to slice off of Overhaul's other hand. He walked over to Mia and touched Mia. Knowing that her soul would not come back to the body, he decided to take the Jade Emperor's body and became one whole. He is now the Jade Emperor, period. He took the sword and quickly dashed towards Overhaul, slicing at Overhaul quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker. He was started off only by cutting small amounts of his skin so he can make Overhaul feel the pain that he felt. Eventually, he started cutting off limb after limb after limb, turning him into more of like diced tomatoes than anything else. And finally, when he decided to let him die, he decided to let him bleed out on the floor, experiencing every ounce of pain he can make him. He saw that the Nomus started to outnumber the Neonox. Knowing that Mia had died and that he didn't do anything, he started attacking every single one. He took his frustration knowing that he couldn't save Mira at all, as he killed one by one by one and by one, devastating them instantly, murdering them with killer intent that had never been seen before. He quickly jumped from one to another, slicing them up. Meanwhile, All For One was still attacking All Might. Both of them were fighting a fierce battle. Neither of them could stop. All Might luckily got one good punch in. on All For One, so All For One's speed started reducing, allowing All Might to hit faster and 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 faster until All For One was almost overpowered by All Might. And then All For One smiled at All Might and he said, "You really think this is my max strength, you fool," as he doubled his power output and then tripled it, causing All Might to start to rear back as his punches were barely doing any damage against the man, but he kept attacking faster and faster and faster, stronger and stronger. Eventually, he started to lose all of his power as he started to shift in and out between his buff and non-buff form as he was constantly fighting All Might to the point where there was almost none of his legendary energy left. And then, out of pure stroke of luck, he sent one punch flying towards All For One's face, breaking the face mask, which All For One smiled at before he felt it, as he felt his head fly off his body. All Might was shocked by this because he didn't know who had done it, and then he looked left to see the Jade Emperor sitting there, angry. Angrier than anything he had ever seen before in his life. He could feel true dread and anger and hatred towards their enemies in his face. The head fell onto the ground as the body falls and stays there lifeless. Up at the top where Mori Jin was fighting Mujan Park, he had doubled himself 4 times. It still wasn't enough. 8 times, as he constantly kept fighting. He constantly increased his strength more and more, created clones of his items, using all of his items at once. He even took a new approach. This time, before extending his pole, Yaoi, he broke off the top of it to make it a pointed tip, almost like a spearhead, and sent it flying at Mujan Park at high speeds. Mujan Park barely dodged the attack, but by the time he did, Deku was instantaneously up top of him and kicked his head downwards towards the ground, where he quickly fell. He noticed that almost all of his troops were gone. He looked up to see Deku had a pole pointed straight down at him and sent it straight into his leg. Mujan Park screamed out in anguish, but then smiled, a sinister smile, as he suddenly disappeared and appeared right behind Deku, and then karate chopped Deku down to the ground. Deku was so confused. What? What happened? Come on, kid. I've been training for 300 years. You really think you could get ahead of me that easily? You've only been training for 9 months. As he then started to fight Deku quickly. He hit Deku with stronger punches, stronger than anything Deku had ever felt before. He had to increase his body. This time it was by 250. But that wasn't enough. And then he went 500. But even that wasn't enough. So he went 1,000 times multiplier. And he started to attack quicker and quicker and creating more clones. He launched an attack after attack after attack out attacked, using multiple different abilities and skills that he had gained over the 9 months. And suddenly he felt a quick slash going upwards, so he darted his head back as it cut. Mujan Park felt it too, and he dodged. Looking at the Jade Emperor, he scoffed and sent his attack straight towards the Jade Emperor. The Jade Emperor cut it in half as he quickly jumps up and tries to attack Mujan Park with Deku. Deku said thanks. The Jade Emperor didn't say anything and just said, "Die, Mujan, die!" as he was constantly attacking quicker and quicker and quicker. Deku also fought their attacks. The battle lasted. Explosions were happening everywhere. Every time they attacked, a massive shockwave was sent outwards. Almost all the Nomus were taken care of. And by that point, Epilogue Park also joined into the battle. Even though he was an old man, he still attempted to help Deku. And then afterwards, the Dragon Lord also joined in. After sealing the divine power of him with her Pandora, Deku quickly took Yaoi and shoved it through the stomach of Mujan Park. Mujan Park coughed up blood and looked at his hand. He's like, "I guess you always had a fiend for getting stronger." Deku said, "Why? Why? Why did you decide to do this? Out of everything, why? 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 Why?" Deku started to cry slightly, remembering the death of his grandfather and the other events that happened. The death of Mira, even though he didn't see it, he could tell just by the pure energy difference inside the Jade Emperor. He smiled, saying, I don't know. I just wanted to have some fun. Deku was outraged by this and he said, Fun? Fun? This is idea of fun? People died today. Lives were wasted. All because you decided to have fun? He smiled again and laughed and said, Yep, that's all. Deku quickly stabbed him through the gut, took out his spear and then shoved it down the throat of Mujan Park, impaling him throughout his entire body. Deku removed the spear and watched Mujan Park's body fall to the ground and create a massive crater. Afterwards, Deku said, You don't even deserve a proper burial, as he left the body sitting there, as he quickly finished up all the extra no moves. Then he went over to nearby where the Jade Emperor was, who was at over nearby their friend. Deku said, I think she believed that she had a good life. And the Jade Emperor said, Yeah, I know. She wouldn't want you to be angry. She wants you to be happy. Yes, I know. So why don't you be happy? Yes, I understand. The loss is still immeasurable for me, though. Yeah, I know. You loved her. You loved her more than anything else in the world. I'll still remember every time we entered the God of High School tournament. The first time where we all met. Those were some of the happiest days of my life. Same for me. We all became good friends. As rain started to fall into the battlefield, Deku and the Jade Emperor cried silent tears while their friends stood in the background, knowing the sadness of the situation. It has been 3 years since the event of the miniature Ragnarok, also known as the Third Ragnarok. The education system changed. Deku got in contact with the gods and told them if they ever even dare even think about interfering with the human world again, he will kill them all without a second guess. Deku faded. He stayed in the background. Even though history was updated and the year was fixed and everything, and people knew that quirks weren't quirks, they were borrowed power, Deku still stayed in the background. He couldn't bring himself to light. Even though he was in the textbooks now, or at least his past life was, he couldn't bring himself to continue to be there with everyone else. He eventually went to the mountain, where he chilled until he found a small little boy one day. Small little boy said he was an orphan that came from a village nearby. Deku said, Do you want to train? I can give you a home here. You can become my pupil. I can teach you many different things. The boy smiled at Deku and said, Okay, mister, I would like that very much. Deku smiled. He asked the kid what his name was. The kid responded with, Hello, my name is... And that's where we're going to leave it off, guys, you know. So, if y'all liked it, hit the like button. If you enjoyed this series as a whole, go hit the subscribe button. I know that last part was pretty... I don't want to say it's anticlimactic, but it kind of felt that way. Yeah, so if you guys liked it, hit the like button, enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button, and until next time, goodbye.